The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
I gave you my consent.
All right.
We are being recorded.
We are locked in, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes, Merry Christmas to you, Jim.
Merry Christmas to you.
Yes, this is it. This is our swan song.
December, at least, or in 2024. Yeah.
What a hell of a year.
Yeah.
2024. Gosh. And just like that, I don't know. It's gone by pretty quick.
Yeah, it has. It has.
It has indeed. We're going out with a bang. Is that what's going on here?
We're going out with a.
I think we're going out on the naughty list. I know there's a few people in these movies that deserve to be on the naughty list.
I wonder if you're going to incorporate Rock'em Sock'em Robots into any of the artwork, because it's the only
I forgot
flow through.
No, that is Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Although we did see a large snow globe with a snowman trapped inside in our second feature, and snow globes figure in very heavily to the end of our first feature. We're talking Christmas movies this week.
Ho, ho, ho.
And the big one that's out now is called Red One. And the biggest selling point for me is that it has The Rock teamed up with Captain America, Chris Evans.
Yeah, Captain America, level 4 naughty lister. Who would have thought?
But, he's reverted back to his wiseacre, Human Torch kind of acting style in this movie. Because that's really what Chris Evans was before he got the role of Captain America. And that's why it was not quite a Michael Keaton brouhaha, but people that knew Chris Evans from, say, the Human Torch or whatever, really? Can he pull that off, without, making a joke every 2 secons? And he did.
He did. With some gravitas to spare.
Yeah.
He is, in fact, Captain America. And, I give him credit for trying.
I'm sure Sam Wilson won't appreciate hearing that.
Listen, Sam Wilson is the Falcon, who just happens to have Captain America's shield. We'll see. We got that movie coming out. And so I tried to make a list of, upcoming movies for next year. And that didn't even cross my mind.
When is that out? February?
Well, Thunderbolts drops in May. And then you got Fantastic Four dropping in July.
It's got to be before Thunderbolts.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not dropping it in February, are they?
They could.
Maybe. I mean, that February is a
There's no competition. There's no competition.
No. Yeah, it used to be Memorial Day weekend, and then that all went away. Then all of a sudden, it was the first weekend of May. So I don't know. That is out there. Yeah. New World Order with grumpy Harrison Ford.
I just wish somebody would just tell him a joke off screen just so he cracks a smile just every once in a while.
I bet you you think he's always that grumpy?
I think he is most of the time. Maybe 85% of the time.
I can't
You can't fake that. You can't fake grumpy.
I can't see Callista Flockhart dealing with that. I think he probably makes her laugh.
Maybe he's
it's a facade. That's what I'm going with. It's a facade.
Maybe he's just like a sitcom disgruntled dad that always gets the laughs, but he's still grumpy.
He's grumpy. Yeah,
like Modern Family. What's the guy from Married with Children? What's his name?
Ed O'Neill. Yes, Red One. I was so worried. You just said that this is the big holiday hit. I was so worried that it wasn't even going to be in theater this week that I saw it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, that's the way, right?
I was like, I don't know. It's only got 2 showings coming into Thursday.
These days, if you don't jump on a movie, if you want to see it in the theater in the first 2 or 3 weeks, you do run the risk of it not being there anymore.
Unless you're a wicked.
Unless you're a Wicked. Yeah, people still showing up in droves to Wicked. Now,
Yeah.
you said that you had a private screening of Red One, so I'm sure
I
it's on its
did.
way out.
Yeah, it was also a Sunday morning.
I went on a Thursday night, also private screening. I was
There
the
you
only
go.
one in there.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
what was great about it, and we'll get into the news in a bit, but before we actually talk about the movie, but what was great about seeing Red One, not only was it the private screening, but I went to my smaller local theater in New
Okay.
Paltz, New York. So I did not go to a Regal. I did not go to an AMC. And it was really refreshing not to have a half hour of ads and
Mm,
trailers beforehand. I got 3 trailers and the movie started. That's it. So
that's unheard of. That
I
is
was out
unheard
at a
of.
reasonable time. Although, again, it's one of these smaller theaters, so I was hearing the Wicked songs as I was watching Red One.
That's crazy. You would think in this day and age that there'd be some noise baffles.
Yeah, when Red
Insulation,
One
just
got
some
quiet,
insulation.
when Red One got quiet, that's when I could hear it.
You mean whenever Gorilla showed up? Oh, should I said her name out loud? Here she comes. Speaking of grumpy, someone just needs a spanking and some coal in her stuff.
I think she should have been a monster the entire movie. That would have been, I think. Well, there was the big reveal at the end, but we'll
she
get
was
there.
a troll. Yeah. Spoilers, by the way, if you
Yeah.
have not seen Red One.
Too late.
Santa gets kidnapped. Do you know how great it would have been to pair this up with Santa Claus Conquers the Martians? We've already covered that.
We've already covered it.
But the fact that Santa gets kidnapped, and I'm like, oh, it's such a missed opportunity. But I will tell you this: if anybody wants to go back and listen to that episode, it is 105. We did that was when there was 3 of us, 3 hosts, and we each brought a crappy movie that we secretly enjoy. And that is my secret crappy. It's not even a secret.
But we didn't do that episode during Christmas time, right? So now is a good time to revisit that episode.
Yeah.
If you listen to it before, whenever
Because we
dropped
also
it.
brought Ice Pirates and
Ice Pirates.
Laser Blast.
Yeah, Ice Pirates. You could kind of argue that because of the word ice in the title, you can't argue
That's a
Laser Blast
stretch.
as a Christmas movie.
No, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
And what else are we doing on the back end?
Yeah, we are we're looking for Turbo Man here. We are going
Turbo Man.
Jingle All the Way, which is a Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle. So
I am not a
interesting.
pervert.
Yeah, well, don't forget, you're my number one customer. Yeah, okay. Yes, I have not seen this in a very long time. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we got The Rock and we have the Terminator
Yes.
back to back here.
And feel good Christmassy movies.
And Captain America. We got all kinds of crap going on here. And J. Jonah Jameson.
And we
yes.
have a big mural of Captain America going on in the kids' room. Jake Lloyd.
That room is fantastic. Yeah, I've never even seen those sheets before.
And that's pre-MCU. That kid was on point.
Yeah, he knew his stuff.
Yeah.
Although his dad was trying his best to play with some of those action.
Although I'm sure Jake Lloyd got on set. Who's that?
Well, Anakin Skywalker wanted nothing to do with it. Yeah, this was pre Star Wars, by the way. Jake Lloyd,
3 years
young Anakin Skywalker. And,
I think I would assume that he got the part because of this movie.
I would think so, because he is the only redeemable character in this movie. But we'll get there. There's all the men are reprehensible. That's all I'm gonna say.
They should all end the movie with everyone arrested, but it doesn't happen.
Anakin. All right, so those are our 2 movies. So let's do one little news item, which just popped up last night. So I wanted to talk about it because it does tie in with last week's Wicked episode. All right. It has been reported that the one of 4 remaining pair of ruby slippers from the 1939 Wizard of Oz movie has sold for $28 million. And if you want to give that nerd math, that is 9.33 Batmobiles from last week.
Who had it?
So this is interesting. So there's an auction house sold this off, but it was owned by a private collector. This specific pair of slippers was stolen from the Judy Garland Museum in Grand Rapids, Michigan, back in 2005. And if you are familiar with a TV show called Expedition Unknown with one of my favorite TV celebrity faces, Josh Gates, You know this guy, Josh Gates?
No.
He shows, he's got all kinds of numerous shows. He goes all over the world looking for Bigfoot and Yeti, or he's digging deep in some hole for Nazi treasure. He actually helped on the show. They helped recover these slippers. It was an inside job. Two guys were charged with this, but this private collector put them up in $28 million after auction house commissions, $32.5 million.
Once they were recovered, wouldn't they have to have been returned to the museum? How did the private collector, did he buy them from the museum?
No, he had them donated. He owned them and he put them on loan to the museum.
Oh, so they were his all along.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And I think I read that the last pair only sold for like 6, but back in the mid 2000s, Steven Spielberg and Leonardo DiCaprio co-bought a pair of slippers for $2 million and donated them to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in LA.
Oh,
so those are on display. You think that sounds like a good deal now at $2 million.
So was it just another private collector that bought them for?
It sounds like it escalated really quickly. And it went down to 2 bidders. It sounds like both bidders were not on premise, and they did not reveal in the article I read who actually purchased them. I
want to say that I saw a pair at a Planet Hollywood once, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. I couldn't tell you where the other 2 pair are. Like I said, this is only one of 4. I know. There is a pair at the Smithsonian.
Okay.
There is a pair on display at the Smithsonian, and from what I understand, they were mismatched. They weren't like the pair of shoes she would have worn together.
What were they, like 2 left feet or something?
Well, but there's experts out there that can determine, which pair was worn in what scene. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But I will tell you, there were other items from The Wizard of Oz. They must have been just jumping at the chance to tie this all in with the release of Wicked. So there were other items from the movie that were sold at this auction. And this is Heritage Auctions, by the way, which is a pretty reputable auction house. So a hat, which belonged to the Wicked Witch, sold for more than $2 million. The screen door that rips off the farmhouse sold for $37,500. There was an MGM contract that was signed by the Over the Rainbow songwriters that went for $23,000. And then Judy Garland's wig that she used in the first week of shooting sold for $30,000. So the wig went for less than the screen door. I guess a screen door probably has more time on screen. No pun intended.
But what do? You can't protect it. It's not like you can put it in a big plastic bag.
The screen door?
Yeah.
I don't know. You wonder, people who have this type of income, right. We talked about this last week with the Batmobile. Oh, Joe Burrows, the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, just revealed he bought one of those Batmobiles.
Really?
Not street legal. What are you going to do with it? What are you doing with it?
So once you buy this, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, now what?
Is it like buying stock? Listen,
Maybe.
Spielberg said on that one for $2 million in the mid 2000s, and all of a sudden this one just went for 28. That's a nice return on your investment. Yeah. So I would think that over time, because these things have got to they deteriorate. You got to put them in some kind of a environment that they're not going to be exposed to air and decompose any farther than they already are. So go in your closet. Who knows? Old pair of shoes. Never know. And that's all my news. Red 1, standing by.
Did this come out even before Wicked did, and we're just getting around to it now?
I believe it did drop the same weekend.
Okay.
Oh, no. Maybe it did drop before. Red 1. So this is directed by Jake Kasdan, who is the son of Lawrence Kasdan.
Right.
Very famous director in his own right. Jake Kasdan, I guess, is associated. He has directed these handful of Jumanji movies that have come out over the years.
Okay.
And he cut his teeth directing Freaks and Geeks, the very short-lived TV show that introduced us to a bevy of stars.
Impressive.
Yes, but the more impressive part of Red One is that I believe it dropped the second week right after Moana 2. So Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has 2 #1 movies in the same month.
Right. Although a #1 movie doesn't necessarily mean that it's a hit.
It doesn't matter. Listen, that looks nice on my resume.
It does.
Do you know who I am? I had 2 hit movies.
And he is a producer of this, as I think he is of pretty much every movie that he's in.
Yeah, he's kind of like his own brand at this point.
Although I was reading stuff about this that Dwayne wasn't.
No, like I said, he should be on the naughty list for some of this reports of his on-set behavior. And he's come out and apologized for some of this stuff, but if it didn't get leaked, he wouldn't have apologized for it.
Which is just weird because you think this guy is just, he seems to be Mr. Professional, Mr. Congenial, friendly to everybody. And he'd be the last person you would think to be holding up anything on his own movie that he's producing.
Yeah, this guy's like pulling an Axl Rose here. It's disheartening to hear that this is the antics that are going on, and especially when you consider his payday.
But, everybody's human, so he's got some off days, so let's cut him some slack, I guess.
Okay. Well, I wish that if he was so tardy, hopefully he would be out there taking some acting classes, but apparently that's not what he was doing.
He was too busy making good for those Snickers bars in Hawaii at the 7-Eleven.
That's true. I remember that story. I will say that, there were reports that he was cutting corners by peeing in empty water bottles on set. And that was very off-putting to some people.
I don't get that. How does that cut corners? Like,
I guess he didn't have to. He didn't have to yell "cut" to run to the restroom. I don't know.
On camera.
My guess was leather pants are pretty hard to get in and out of. So, but this guy just say what you will, but outside of the movie Central Intelligence, if you ever watch that with Kevin Hart, he plays the same character in every movie. He's in all the new Jumanji movies, so he is. He
has a relationship with the director already.
But yeah, this is the tale of Santa's secret service agency that protects him.
Mora, which is MORA, the Mythological Oversight and Restoration Authority. So they keep things secret that should be secret. And Santa is just one of these things. It's like an FBI outfit that kind of shadows Santa as his secret service. So that begs the question, does, when Bigfoot walks around in the woods, does he have this entourage that goes with him?
This is where I wanted to go, which is, so it's basically like this interdimensional cryptic law agency. And I think this is just ripe for like a fun animated series. This is what I want to see. We got a glimpse of the Headless Horseman early on in the movie. And I'm like, I want to see more of this because, my brain immediately went to Bigfoot when we start being told that they police or they protect mythological creatures. Right. Now, don't forget, he also played the Tooth Fairy at one point. Maybe this is a part of a larger world he's building now.
And it's established at one point that he's not human. I don't know exactly what he is supposed to be outside of Santa's bodyguard in this movie. Maybe a grown elf. I don't know.
Because Jack actually says to him at one point, "Wait, you're not human?" He says, "Do I look human to you?"
So Santa gets kidnapped. That is the crux of the movie. And the first half of the movie is them trying to figure out who has done it and how. And the way that they do this, and it's, right under the rocks and this whole team's noses, is that Santa is taken.
On Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve. So again, they have to save Christmas. If they don't get Santa back, there is no Christmas. Now, Santa doesn't look helpless in this movie. That was my issue. Like, you don't want to mess with this Santa. How did they so easily take him? This guy is cut. He is not a warm and cuddly Santa. He's probably somebody that you don't want to approach if you've seen him in a dark alley.
I want to say I like this take because we've seen 100 different Christmas movies. And we've seen a different layouts of how the North Pole is laid out. And this is just like a giant industrial complex. It's massive. They got trolls, they got elves, they got I don't know, whatever creatures that are helping him. It's all behind some hidden dome that you can't see. I don't think we've ever seen reindeer with glowing antlers.
No, and it was a very Wakanda kind of a steal, the whole North Pole
yeah,
thing.
that's a good call. That's a good
Yeah.
call. But yeah, the Santa, J.K. Simmons, fine. I like him. I liked him a lot. But
And
you're
they
right.
explain-
This guy is like incredibly limber and ripped.
The reason he's this jacked is so he can go deliver presents to 1 billion kids in one night.
Well,
He's
we
got to
see it-
stay fit.
Not to spoil anything, but we do get to see him in action at the end. And again, this is like, all right, well, you're showing me something I have not seen before.
But
As
and
far as
again, at the
Santa.
end, I'm like, well, if he was doing this when he was about to get kidnapped, they'd never be able to take him.
No, correct. You never get to see that, by the way, how they actually absconded him. We just know that there was a breach in security, and all of a sudden, Red One, as his code name is, hence the name of the movie, Santa, Red, Nick, whatever you want to call him, is missing.
And they take him out of his weight room, right? Because the Rock was
because
spotting him right before he got
because we
taken.
get this. So we get this backstory, which is the Rock's character, Caleb Drift. That's right up there with Gale Force or, Stormfield's my local weatherman. He no longer has the Christmas spirit. He can't see it. People suck, disillusioned, and he wants out. One last run with you, Santa, and then I'm gone. What's he going to do? Is that going to just you can't show that on your resume. So you protected Santa for 300 years? Yeah, now I want to work at Walmart.
He's going to be a greeter.
Welcome to Walmart.
Mhm.
But what we're missing, we do get this early flashback to Chris Evans' character, who is Jack O'Malley. And if you want to talk about a curmudgeon, this little kid just wanted to ruin Christmas for all of his cousins because he was having none of it. Doesn't believe in Santa, doesn't believe in anything that's going on. Here's all the presents the parents have hidden. It's all a sham. It's a lie.
So this guy has trust and belief issues. So,
Yes.
he's got to get that heart beating just like the Grinch by the end of this movie.
And they did play me. You see this. So if you see the trailer for this, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get some silly antics. You got a guy, you got a polar bear, which I don't know if you saw any behind the scenes stuff, but this actor, Christopher, that was Krampus, who we'll get to. Reynaldo Faberly played Agent Garcia, who is this 10-foot polar bear. He's one of the agents. This guy actually ran around on set with a giant polar bear head suspended over his that they had an eye line to, so that they could just replace him with CG later.
That's what The Rock was looking at as he was urinating into a pond.
The polar bear. Hey, you got a Coke bottle over there? I need it. We got Bonnie Hunt as Mrs. Claus and a substantially underused Lucy Liu.
Yeah, I was convinced that she was going to turn out to be a bad guy because usually when you have somebody the name of Lucy Liu, like in a supporting role like that, I'm like, oh, she's got a bigger part that they're not talking about. Yeah,
something. She's disgruntled. Something. Santa didn't give her a weenie whistle or something.
But they didn't go there, so she was on the up and up the whole movie.
But she was wasted.
Yeah,
she was absolutely wasted. And like I said, there were moments where, we get these when Santa's kidnapped and they're like, oh, we got to go to our regular cast of characters who are bad guys. And they bring in the Headless Horseman. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Let's do more of this. Instead, we have to go after Jack O'Malley because we get a nice little sequence with him breaking into this. It's like a little heist scene where he breaks into this facility and puts a tracker on some seismic earthquake detector.
Yeah, I didn't think too hard about it.
Like you said, he's the Grinch. We find out he's a deadbeat dad. And how many of these Christmas movies do we have to center around deadbeat dads? It's like a trope. It's like its own movies. So because think about this, like all those stupid movies, Tim Allen's character in the Santa Claus didn't want anything really to do with this kid. Michael Keaton and Jack Frost, all he wanted to do was play in his band. And then you got Bruce Willis, who was a kind of a shisty dad.
It was difficult for me to kind of reconcile that this guy was even a father to begin with. I'm like, how did that happen? You know,
Yeah,
if
because
this guy's so reprehensible.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a one night stand.
Yeah.
That just, biologically he's this kid's father, but he has no part in this kid's life. And the kid plays it off like, yeah, it's cool. I don't need you to be around me. And then the mom's immediately like, you're an idiot.
But the mom is like a nurse who's, seems like well off. And I would just think that if that were the case, that she wouldn't have this guy in her life at all.
No, right. Don't even tell him. Don't even tell him that that's your kid. How do we find out that it's the Winter Witch? Oh, they end up in Aruba. So they have to team up. So we're kind of bouncing all over the place. But Chris Evans' character, a level 4 naughty lister, they kidnap him, bring him in, try to force him to tell them who he worked for. He has no idea. He just gets transferred money and off he goes.
Yeah, it's his fault that Santa was kidnapped because he traced the seismic activity to Santa's sleigh. Right. So there's a mystery person out there who hired him, and that is the person that kidnapped Santa. And they have a lead where they go to Aruba, and this is where, the infamous trailer scene that you've already seen a million times.
Snowmen.
The snowmen.
They should have just melted in Aruba anyway.
Yeah.
Shocker. How do you take out a snowman? You just remove his nose. You just take the carrot away. Again, like I said, you kind of get exactly what you expect when you see this trailer.
Yeah, it's a weird synergy of an action movie, but it didn't have enough of the feels that, like your Christmas movie. They do kind of shoehorn it in at the end when, of course, there's the reconciliation between Chris Evans and his son.
Right.
But up until that point, it's just it's going more in the action movie vein than it is the Christmas movie vein, because you don't really see Santa unless he's unconscious throughout most of this movie.
Yeah, it's a chase. It's a couple action sequences, but I will tell you the highlight of this entire movie is they have to go and track down Krampus, who we find out is Santa's brother. And the body makeup and special effects on this character is phenomenal. Like, he's right up. I'm going to put this guy like right next to what's his name as Legend in.
Oh yeah. I was thinking to myself, what does this guy remind me of?
Tim Curry.
You're right. Yeah,
and it's fantastic. So I wanted to do a deeper dive on the special effects because clearly there's a lot of CG stuff going on. But in this sequence, when they are in Krampus's castle and they're celebrating Krampus Schnapps, which I guess is a real day in folklore, all these creatures that live there, they all look practical. I mean, whether they got fish heads or they got goat heads or they got tails. And all I could come up with is that they used extensive AI. And that was immediately turned off because I couldn't find out anything more. Like, how are you using AI to make these? Is this guy in costume? Is there makeup involved and then the AI enhances it?
I think it was makeup because it looked like he just entered another movie, Nightbreed, if you've ever seen that, because these creatures look like they're right from that movie.
But like I said, I wanted to, give a shout out to these makeup and special effects artists. And I just kept getting stonewalled. I kept finding all these reports about AI being used to create the environments and to enhance some of the action. And I'm like, you're not telling me how you.
Oh, I didn't hear any of that. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
But this sequence to me was fun. Obviously the back and forth between Chris Evans and The Rock, good cop, bad cop kind of a thing. And the service closets in every toy store are secret portals that connect you back to the North Pole.
Or to other toy stores.
To other toy stores. It's a fun little thing. We've got this Ant-Man shrink ray thing going on where we just pick up Matchbox cars and we can grow them to full size. And then they're drivable. Like, at least in Ant-Man, you're taking a real car and shrinking it down. You're just taking a toy. If you blew up a toy, it doesn't have an engine.
Well, remember in Ant-Man, they shrunk a building. And so how does that building have electricity when it's big and water and all that
water?
Stuff?
All right, we're already overthinking. So that's where your Rock'em Sock'em robots come in, which is he throws them on the floor. He deep shrinkifies them. He grows them, and then they just start beating the crap out of people.
Also, when they're in Krampus's lair, they're doing the Krampus schlop game where it's like the slap contest, and nobody can beat Krampus.
His hand was 3 times the size of the Rock's hand.
Yeah.
And again, this is a fun character. This is like, all right, I want more of this. Show me this magical. The polar bear was underutilized. He didn't really get a lot of screen time either.
He just showed up in the beginning and at the very end in the battle at the end.
If I'm going to go on an adventure trying to find somebody who kidnapped Santa Claus, I'm taking the polar bear, the 10-foot polar bear.
So as you said before, the being behind all this is the Christmas witch, Grilla. So as soon as you say her name, she knows you've spoken her name and she comes after you. I'm like, so if more than one person, who does she go to? You know,
if you got like the entire world to just like right. If you're on a TV show and it's emanating from all the televisions across the world. Right. Gorilla. She was the girl of my dreams, by the way.
She's Kiernan Shipka, who is the daughter on Mad Men, and she's also Sabrina, the teenage witch, in the very adult Netflix show. Krampus comes into it because Krampus is her ex-boyfriend, and they used to punish the kids that were on the naughty list, and Santa didn't want them to punish the kids, so that's when Krampus took off on his own. Gorilla has been wanting to get back and start punishing ever since, but she doesn't know where Santa lives, and that's why she needed Chris Evans to figure out where the North Pole was.
That doesn't make sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Because if she's dating his brother, eventually they got to have like family get-togethers.
Yeah.
The fascinating thing about this, which is she is part of Nordic mythology as well as Krampus, and Krampus used to hang out with Santa Claus. And, just like I hear, which is, it was Krampus's idea for the naughty list. And Krampus used to come along and take kids that were naughty and throw them in his bag and take them home to eat them or take them back to hell. Oh. Yeah, he'd either eat them, drown them, or take them to hell. And I'm like, all right, that would make me be good throughout the year.
Although it's not quite as bad as that in this movie. What Gorilla wants to do is gift all these naughty kids and adults a snow globe. So once they open the snow globe, they get sucked into it, and then they're stuck there. So I guess her end game is like to remove all the... So this is like a Thanos kind of a thing. Maybe she's right.
You hit it on the head with Endgame.
Yeah.
Thanos. She wants to Thanos the entire naughty list. But I think the question comes in, like, where do you draw the line? Because at some point, we've all been naughty. We've all lied to somebody. We've all, snuck something or did something we probably shouldn't do and did get caught. So I would think there'd be very few people left on this planet. And then once this happens, all right, so you got all these people trapped in snow globes. Now what? Put them in snow globes and then shake them once a day? I don't. The thrust of this, or the idea that this winter witch, or whatever you want to call her, Gorilla, has kidnapped Santa to drain his magical energy. And we do find out that he is the one and only Santa. It's not like Santa Claus in other movies where he gets replaced. Over the years, other people have taken on it. This is the one guy. And without him, there is no Christmas.
At the end, Chris Evans gets sucked into a snow globe, as does his 13, 14-year-old son. Right. And so they're right next to each other on Gorilla's shelf, and they reconcile through the snow globes.
Well, you got a lot of time on your hands at this point. What else are you going to do? You know what, son? I'm a piece of crap.
He sees the error of his ways by the end of the movie. So that is where the feels come in, is that Chris Evans, father-son relationship. But other than that, the movie ends with like a Thor Ragnarok. It's almost like crap. they have a rainbow bridge in the North Pole.
Nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. That is on my notes. It's just this end fight sequence. That's exactly what this is. And we get a magical return at the last second. Krampus shows up. Fine, I'm gonna have to help you.
You are my brother after all.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And saves the day. She gets trapped in one of her own globes.
But she reveals her true form, and which is pretty cool. So she's like a giant, because that is one thing Krampus alludes to that when he was telling them the story that they used to date.
is that when I dated her, she was like a 10-foot troll, and she was hot. She was, and she is, she lives up to her name. She is Grizzly. Yeah, you are correct. That is the Thor Ragnarok battle on the Rainbow Bridge. And the reindeer actually are the ones who take her out.
But I have to say that Kiernan Shipka, when she is on screen, she is fantastic as Gorilla.
No, she was adorable, and she was, you're like, all right, well, I would have liked.
She is born to play a villain. I'll just say that.
Captain America, a level 4 naughty lister. He got redeemed at the end. There you go. And then because of that, as you said, they get invited on the sled as Santa is now back in. He's got to go, man. It's go time. Caleb sees the two connecting and immediately sees the good in human again and decides he wants to stay on. I'll stay for another year. And what got me was that Chris Evans' character morphs into his younger child that we see at the beginning of the movie.
Yes, because that's what does it. That's what melts the Rock's heart.
Yeah, I sniffled back a tear. I'm like, damn you, Kasdan. You got me.
Because that's what Santa said. Like, every adult has that kid still inside. He's like, well, I can't see that kid anymore, Santa. That's why I want to retire.
J.K. Simmons got paid a lot of money to do very little in this movie except lift weights.
Is he that jacked normally?
He is. Apparently, he's pretty wild. Yeah. So... And then, like we said, you see this whole end sequence when Santa's and he's flipping, he's doing backflips, he's zipping down, he's
shrinking himself down to get down the chimneys and back up again.
There's like a mothership that's following behind the sleigh with all these pods for different areas of the world that get transferred to the back of the sled, and they're all shrunk down just like the shrink ray. So he carries them in his backpack, goes down the chimney, throws everything in the stocking, and then zaps them so that they become full size.
But it's established that he doesn't like macaroon cookies, so he rejects them. What about that poor kid that wakes up on Christmas and like, Santa didn't eat my cookies?
Just take it and give it to the reindeer.
Yeah. This movie hasn't done that great out of the gate. It cost between 200 and 250 million to make. So far, it's only made 152 back.
50 of that was The Rock's budget. That was what he got paid.
But, with these Christmas movies, I think over time they all make their money back because, people are going to be watching this year after year after year, along with everything else.
If this pops up on TV, like this time of year, I'm scrolling, I'm looking for a holiday movie. Rudolph was on the other night on NBC now, not on CBS anymore. And I made sure to watch it when it aired. I don't own it on DVD. Stuff like the Santa Claus and some of these other movies that aren't traditional Christmas fare. This is a fun Sunday afternoon movie.
I have to tell you, because I went with my son, and he liked it. So I didn't have the heart to tell him,
Well, you're going to have the heart to tell me because I liked it too. I enjoyed it for what it was. You knew going in what you were getting. They didn't sugarcoat it. The snowman fight is silly, but whatever. I was entertained.
I was entertained too, but I just wanted more out of it. That's all.
Yeah. I could see that they did a lot of world building with this. So in the middle of this giant Abu Dhabi, Wakanda-sized complex that is the North Pole, there's a little tiny house, a little tiny rustic. It looks like the house that fell on the witch. And there's a little plaque that said it all started here. Like that was Santa's original workshop. And
okay. I thought it was maybe where Santa lived still.
Well, maybe. I don't know. That workout bench would probably not even fit in there. They did a great amount of this world building.
It wasn't like the North Pole, say, in the Polar Express, where it's just elves. And It appears that they only exist for Christmas. There's just like humans that live here.
Yeah.
They're out buying hot walnuts on the street and other stuff. I'm like, well, what do they do every day?
There's stuff that you haven't really seen in other movies. I thought it was fantastic. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Chris Evans is playing a jerk, a redeemable jerk, whether you want to buy it that he's redeemed by his end or not.
Oh, the movie tells us that he is.
Well,
at least. Yeah, I just thought it could have been better.
Yeah.
But it was, a nice distraction. So
Yeah.
if we're ready for buckets, I'm going to give it 3 buckets. Red one.
I am right there with you. 3 buckets.
3 buckets. How could we be so disparate and still give it the same amount?
I know, because at the end because you can tear movies like this apart, but at the end of the day, I still walked away entertained. And isn't that what movies are all about?
Yes, they
Okay.
are. So did I. So did I. So
I will, and I would think because you went with your son, maybe you're being a little more generous because you saw how he took to it.
yeah.
And maybe it's not for us. Maybe it is for a kid like him who just wants to see something different.
And he,
The Rock,
he loves The
is
Rock.
a big star. Yeah, The Rock's
Oh,
a big
if John
star,
Cena
man.
was in this too, he'd be right in his
No,
in his
that'd be
lane.
losing half a bucket for me if John Cena was in this. Although I will tell you, it did lose half a bucket because we ended on that damn Mariah Carey song, and I'm like, come on.
Was
My
that
son-
her or was that somebody else singing it?
She probably still got residuals. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. No end credit. Don't sit through the credits. And like I said, the one thing I was very disappointed with was trying to at least give some shout out to these artists who did the special effects and the makeup, because this Krampus character is fantastic. I mean, he's allowed to emote. It's not all prosthetics to the point where he's like, I mean, this guy's moving around. The bodysuit looks fantastic. And some of these other creatures, I mean, they could have come right out of the Cantina and Star Wars.
Yeah.
A little creative with the fish heads and whatnot. So would have liked to have given them a shout out, but apparently AI had these studios are now hiding behind AI, and I don't like that at all. But yeah, 3 buckets. Check it out. Matinee.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's probably streaming by next week.
I didn't open up the article, but it has been given a demand release date already. I would assume that it's coming before Christmas. It has to.
Sure,
right?
Why not? Don't drop it in January.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch a Christmas movie in January. It's funny because I started thinking about how we've only covered. We just got done talking about how everybody loves The Rock. We've only covered 3 of his movies. And 2 of them were in one episode. We did a Rockathon back, episode 21, Rampage and the Rundown. And then episode 189, we covered Jungle Cruise.
No, you're missing one.
Oh.
Didn't we do that Hobbs and Shaw movie too?
Oh, you're right. Damn it. He is in. Wait, is he?
Yeah, it's him and Jason
okay.
Statham.
You're right. Well, I don't know that episode number, so you're going to have to go search that one out yourself.
We did that with Air Force One, I believe.
I believe you are correct.
Talk about grumpy Harrison Ford.
Get off my plane.
Get off my set.
Oh man, Red One. Still playing. It is still in my theater.
Yeah, and if you want a private screening, the odds are that you're going to get one if you try to go see it.
Just find a theater that has walls thick enough so you don't hear Defying Gravity. Did you hear that certain theaters are banning people from coming in dressed in green makeup?
Yeah, I did hear that.
Why?
I am not sure why they would have an issue with that. But
you want to encourage people to actually go back to the theater. You're pushing an experience. Clearly, this movie is hitting at the right time. People want to experience it. I'm sure that there are probably screenings that are sing-alongs.
maybe they think that these people are going to be disruptive. I don't know why they would not like that.
So I can show up in a pink dress and be a bubbly blonde, and that's okay. But the minute I put green makeup on, this is.
Maybe they're afraid they're going to stain their seats. There could be a practical reason.
Wait, I didn't put green makeup on my butt, or did
I'm not going to wipe my face on your on the backing of your seat.
Yeah, I do. I did hear something about that, and I'm like, well, that's, to be honest with you, I'm showing up as a winged monkey. So that's what you want to ban, is somebody showing up with a 6-foot wingspan attached to my bag.
You run the risk of eating all that green makeup if you're putting your hand in the popcorn. But that brings us to our concession. Now, I've been trying to think what you might bring today.
Okay, all right. Because
I want to make a guess. I want to make a guess and tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
Snowballs.
No.
Oh.
No, that's a good one, though. Although I don't like snowballs. They got coconut, right?
I don't like them either.
Okay. That's actually a good call. So because we're talking Dwayne Johnson and we're talking Arnold Schwarzenegger, so Schwarzenegger is very famous for being the first actor to ever get a $20 million payday.
For this movie? For the movie we're about to talk about?
He did, but he I think it was Terminator 2 where he got that big $20 million payday. It kind of set the standard for these action heroes. Dwayne Johnson, we just mentioned, $50 million payday. So in honor of these two powerhouses and the ridiculous salaries, I really wanted to talk about my favorite candy bar, which is Payday.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's absolutely nothing remotely interesting about Payday, or other than the fact that it's just peanuts rolled in nougat.
I thought it was rolled in caramel. It's not caramel specifically?
It's caramel. You're right. It probably is caramel. See, I didn't do any research. You're right. It's caramel.
But it's your favorite. You should know.
I don't know the difference between caramel and nougat. I just know I like it. So instead, we're going to chew down on the one and only 100 grand bar.
Oh, I love that. I love the 100 grand bar.
Okay. Well,
you got to search it, though, right? They're not readily available.
They are not. And they were originally called Nestle's $100,000 bar. They were not the 100 grand bar.
I always remember them as the 100 grand. Was that before my lifetime when they were
Well, let's go through the history of this candy bar, and you will tell me where that falls in. So in 1964, Nestle filed the trademark for the $100,000 bar. So initially, it was not offered nationwide, but there was a couple smaller markets that got this, and I found an ad from Toledo, Ohio, where the advertisement promotes the bar, declaring, "So good, it's almost illegal." So right off the bat, they're like, "Oh, we got something naughty going on over here. You might want a part of that." So the original bar was sold for a whopping 10 cents. And on the wrapper, in addition to that proclamation in the ad, it says, "A fortune in flavor." So they're really riding on this $100,000. Now, I didn't do the math, like inflation, what $100,000 was back in 1964, but I'm assuming that was a lot of money. Someone said, "Why don't we just give it a numerical number, make it sound like it's really pricey?" And then some ad campaign came up with the tagline. So, but if you're not familiar with the $100,000 bar, it's milk chocolate with caramel and Rice Krispies, or as they refer to it, crisped rice.
Fantastic. Now, rather than really a bar, it's more like the Reggie bar where it's a cluster, right? So yeah. I remember, I don't know if you can get a full one anymore, but they were broken up into two when you would get the larger $100,000 grand bar. You'd open the package and you'd have two clusters.
Yes.
Next to each other.
Yeah, you got the two. They refer to it as two mini bars.
Yeah.
Not the mini bars you get in a hotel, but nonetheless. And
sometimes you see it in these assorted Halloween candy bags.
Yeah, they're still around, but they're not as prevalent as they used to be. So in 1973, they did a huge marketing campaign update, and they changed the graphics to the now very familiar red packaging with white lettering and little yellow dots that go all around the border, and included the iconic image of this quintessential 70s kid. I mean, Eddish Askren holding the bar directly in front of his face, and he's wearing that Danny Partridge 70s hairdo. It's just his head. You getting a picture?
I am.
You remember this?
I am. Yep.
Okay.
What did it look like before that? The packaging?
It was just all graphics. It almost looked like a dollar bill with a big banner that just had the $100,000.
But it wasn't the iconic red and yellow.
It was like red and white, but it didn't look like this. This is, if anybody remembers these candy bars, because they were very iconic, with this kid's face slapped on the front of the bar on the packaging. And this is where they went to two mini bars for twice the price, by
of course. Although it did you could fool yourself into thinking, I'm getting two, when you open a package of a $100,000 grand bar.
Right. Well, listen, when it says a fortune in flavor, you're like, oh, I'm rich.
Although in my
10 cents
head,
for this.
I would always think of this as the $100,000 pyramid bar. Okay.
That's different. That sounds different. So over the years, it's gone through a couple different changes. In 1980, they redesigned the packaging yet again, eliminating the kid. So that kid was only around for like 7 years. And yet that is when you mention $100,000 bar, that's what I'm thinking of is that
That
kid.
was the heyday. That was the heyday of that bar.
So they dropped the word bar from the name and they shortened it to just Nestle $100,000. No bar. Okay. So one of the really cool things I found, which was in 1982, they had 2 mail-in promotions, rock mini album promotions. You could mail away a wrapper along with 35 cents and you would get in return a 33 RPM containing 4 rock songs. So I'm assuming it would be 2 songs on either side. And the songs, Cheap Trick, I Want You to Want Me. I don't know if that was the studio version or if that was the live version from
Budokan.
Journey, Any Way You Want It. Molly Hatchet, Flirting with Disaster, and REO Speedwagon, Time for Me to Fly. This is a solid 35-cent mail away. And a little graphic with all the logos for the 4 different bands. This is 1982. I don't remember this in any way, shape, or form, but this is fantastic. But what was even better is I found on eBay a 12-inch LP, which was a mail away. I don't know how much this one cost. If the 33 was 1 wrapper and 35 cents, then maybe this was double that. But we had Hot Child in the City. What do we got? Blondie, One Way or Another. We got Michael Johnson. I don't know who that is. Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue? Crystal Gale. A Little Bit More by Dr. Hook. And Steal Away, Robbie Dupree. So I guess there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 songs on each side.
This is like a K-Tel collection.
Oh, yeah. K-Tel Records. Solid. So this was pretty wild. I'm like, all right. Because we all remember, like, mail-in promotions.
Yep.
Topps used to do them on the back of their trading cards. So in 1985 or 86, I couldn't get a specific year. They completely changed the name, overhauled. It is now referred to as the 100 grand. No mention of monetary, with a banner that says now with richer caramel and the tagline, That's Rich, which I think is a Paris Hilton. So my research indicates that the reason they changed the name was because it was easier to trademark and copyright 100 grand than a generic number like $100,000.
Right.
So that's the only reason. In the 2000s, Nestle went a little bit crazy and they started introducing all kinds of variations on the 100 grand. There's a version where there's peanuts. They have a dark chocolate version. There is one with coconut. And there is one that simply says, still 30% less fat than your standard chocolate brands. I didn't know it was 30% less.
I would be open to any of those. Maybe not the coconut, but
dark chocolate, I'm all
dark
over.
Chocolate, peanuts.
I'm a dark chocolate and peanut fan.
Mix peanuts with the Rice Krispie treat and the caramel. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2018, Nestle sold their American confectionery business to the Ferraro Candy
Of course.
And this merger / buyout allowed them to use the Nestle name for 1 year. So if you can find these now, they no longer have Nestle associated with them as of 2019. And you're right, they're still around. They pop up every now and again. They're not, I don't think they're in the A-list aisle in your grocery store. You might have to go to the B section of the candy to find 100 grand.
Or like a specialty candy shop would most likely have
probably.
it.
Yeah, because they do have a very rabid following.
Oh, it makes me want one now.
There you go. Fun fact, the kid that was on the wrapper in the 70s, his name was Ricky McBrearty, and he lived in New Milton, Connecticut. Now, Nestle's headquarters was in White Plains, right down the street here in New York. New Milford, not that far away. So whether or not this kid was a friend of somebody that worked in the agency or he was an actor, I did find a couple of articles where they were talking about the history of this candy. And in the chat section, someone said, I knew this kid. I went to school with this kid. And someone else said, I went on a blind date with this kid.
What was his name again?
Ricky McBrearty.
I wonder if his name was ever brought up at a presidential debate. I knew Ricky McBrearty. You, sir, are no Ricky McBrearty.
Do you think that he actually like leveraged that in the blind date? You know who I am, right? That's me on the candy bar. Yeah, I got a handy. So the only other thing I want to bring to the table, which is the 100 grands have shown up in pop culture over the years. In New York City, Boston area, this is a very famous bit that two radio hosts, Opie and Anthony, if you're familiar with them, they kind of cashed in once Howard Stern left terrestrial radio in the mid-90s. These two, they were DJs at the Boston radio station, famously promoted a giveaway of 100 grand. And it just went on for like several weeks where they had people call in. And eventually they gave it to this guy. And he was like all ecstatic. You can look this up on YouTube or whatnot. There's audio of it. I'm going to buy a car and I'm going to do this. Wait a minute. Wait, you can't do that with a candy bar. A what? A what? I can't believe. And this guy just loses his mind. I believe that they actually were fired over this. Yeah. So then they come to New York market and become even bigger.
Right.
Yeah. There was an episode.
I'd be happy. I'd be happy with that. I'm like, okay, well, I'll take the candy.
But that's right up there with the radio station that was giving away the Toyota. I want to say, now that I'm thinking about it, I want to say that was Opie and Anthony as well. They gave away a Toyota. And then it literally was a toy Yoda. And the lady lost her mind. But there is an episode of Seinfeld where they have to go to the car dealership and George accuses the mechanic of stealing his Twix.
Yep.
And they get into an argument or whatever. And the manager asks if it could have been $100,000 bar. And George replies, no, because it was only rice and caramel, and this guy had crumbs on his face or whatever. And then someone had to correct him that is no longer the $100,000 bar. It is, in fact, 100 grand. And then there was an episode of The Office in which Michael Scott actually tried to bribe everybody to, motivate them to sell by offering them 100 grand. And it was the candy bar. It
was the candy bar. I just remember taking that first bite and pulling the caramel, the long string of caramel.
So Ricky, shout out to you, man. Oh, Jingle all the way. 1996. I ain't got time for a candy bar. I'm chasing after these toys. This is 90s consumerism at its worst. This
depicts or the movie itself?
Both, I think. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, there is absolutely no redeeming men in this movie whatsoever. No, they are all despicable.
This is based on all those toys, like for pretty much every Christmas. I don't know if so much anymore, but
I don't really. I mean, think maybe like Tickle Me Elmo back, which I think was the same year as this in '96. Buzz Lightyear, there was a little bit in '95. But yeah, the Cabbage Patch craze in the 80s.
Furbies?
Oh, Furbies. Big screen TVs on sale at Walmart, maybe.
And Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when they first came out.
Well, this whole opening scene of this movie, I think Turbo Man is a direct ripoff of these.
At least the Turbo Man TV show is very much owes a debt to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
So you're right. It opens with a melee as people are beating each other up for, gotta get those toys for those kids. Can't disappoint them. This is where J.K. Simmons should come in,
or at least The Rock should come in and take care of it. But
we got Schwarzenegger.
We do, but he's playing like the regular guy. He's not. He doesn't step up as Action Man at any point, even mistakenly at the end when he's Turbo Man. He's kind of like a Greatest American Hero He's inepting his way through it.
Yeah. I will say this movie takes place in Minnesota. Arnold's got the worst Minnesotan accent ever, but there's not a single actor in here trying to even access an accent.
I was wondering as I was watching this, how much of this did they actually film in Minnesota outside of those mall scenes? Or did they even maybe they just filmed the outside of the Mall of America and filmed at some other mall? But no, they did.
No, yeah.
On location. They did on location.
Yeah, this was big. They actually had the world premiere there in November at the Mall of America. And then afterwards, Schwarzenegger donated a bunch of props from this movie to the Planet Hollywood, which he owned anyways.
Yeah, of course,
right.
Of course.
I'm assuming not there anymore.
But I did also read that they did film some scenes in California. The parade at the end is not in Minnesota. Yes. And some indoor scenes, like the warehouse scene, is also on a set in California.
Fun fact, Ted's house, which is Phil Hartman's character, the Bradford home from 8 is Enough.
Same place, really?
Same house.
Oh.
Yep.
Although is that in Minnesota then?
That's a deep cut right there. I don't know. I don't think that they would have filmed there. That probably was in California as well. Yeah. It's a throw, blink and you miss a scene. So
but as you said, it starts with this Turbo Man TV show. So if you didn't know any better, if you're sitting down to this Christmas movie, what is this that I'm sitting down to? And then it's revealed that the character that Jake Lloyd plays, Jamie, is watching his favorite TV show. But interestingly, the TV show stars Harvey Korman.
I know.
As the president.
You know who I am? I was in the Star Wars holiday special.
I played an alien Julia Child in the Star Wars holiday special.
Multi-armed. Yeah. Ta-ta, Turbo Man. And we get to see Booster, who is basically Cringer from He-Man.
A pink Sabretooth on 2 legs. Somebody in a suit. That's Turbo Man's sidekick. And then we also have Turbo Man's nemesis, Dementor. Looks more than a little like Megamind, which came
Megamind.
Later. And then as soon as we establish this, we see Jamie watching the show at home, and then we flash to his dad, Howard, played by Arnold here, at work. Now, what does he sell?
He's a
Where
mattress
does he
salesman.
work?
He's
a mattress salesman.
Yes.
Okay.
And don't forget, you're my number one customer. Like, how many mattresses are you selling to one person? Mm-hmm. Unless he's selling to like a hotel chain or something. There is a great scene in that when he's in the office and he's on the phone with his wife and he's signing contracts. He signs Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Does he? Can you see that?
Yeah, apparently you can read it. Oh my God. Caught. Just leave it. No one will catch it.
But he also makes the mistake of saying to his wife, "You're my number one customer," after she is kind of beating him down about being home on time and, you got to leave work.
You should always tell your wife that she is your number one customer.
She's concerned that he's going to miss the karate class. Hey, it's because he works the way he does that kid is even in karate class. So give this guy a break.
Yes. I never miss. Oh, I missed it. So he misses it.
Because the guy with the batteries on his shoulder stops him, pulls him over.
Robert Conrad. Yeah. They couldn't
From
get
a Battle of the Network Stars.
Well, he's a Baba Black Sheep as well. But you're right. Those Duracell battery commercials pretty much cemented him in pop culture. Yeah, no, Robert Conrad kills it in this. He's a fun cop. We see him numerous times throughout here.
Pretty sure if you assault a police officer, you're in jail for a very long time.
This guy should have been in jail within the first 5 minutes of this movie. He impersonates an officer. He assaults a police officer. There's some bad behavior going on here. Matter of fact, there's a Rodney King joke for a laugh. And I'm like,
that was when it was still fresh.
That was right. That's right. Ay. Even the reindeer did not like Howard. So he misses this belt championship that Jamie is a part of. That kid there's no way he would have gotten that belt. I don't think anything he was doing was accurate. But that's just me. He has to come home and he has to mea culpa this kid. And this is where we see that bedroom. This is where we see this bedroom is just filled with Marvel toys and bed sheets and posters on the wall.
There was a Ben Cooper Hulk mask on the wall.
Man. I hope that's the stuff he donated to Planet Hollywood.
I mean, whoever was doing the set dressing on this is the one to thank for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, there's even when the kid's eating breakfast, he's eating from a Turbo Man cereal box. And I'm like, wow, that looks like Neil Adams art. I didn't check on that, but yeah. This kid wants nothing to do. He gives his dad the death stare, and I don't want anything to do with it. But
before we even get there, when we're at the karate contest or tournament or wherever it was,
we're introduced to Ted.
And all the single moms. I'm assuming that they're single moms.
Ladies. I don't even think they are single. I think they're just all hot for Ted.
They're all asking him to come over and fix their stuff. He's like, yes, I think I have the tool just for that.
Yeah. There's some innuendos going on. Yeah. How long after this movie before his wife actually killed him in his sleep?
This was the last movie that in his lifetime that was released.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Mm. And he was so great on everything he did.
I used to love news. Was it News Radio? No.
Yeah, News Radio.
Yeah, News Radio. Yeah.
Of course, Saturday Night Live, Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
And he is so smarmy here, and he is one of the highlights of this movie.
Yes,
he really is.
Because he knows that Howard's a deadbeat dad.
Yeah,
and he is taking full advantage of that.
So Howard misses the karate because Robert Conrad pulls him over, and he's got to make it up to his kid. And the kid mentions to him, "Well, I really want a Turbo Man doll. Whoever doesn't get one is going to be a real loser." He's like, "Okay, there's my in." So unfortunately, it's Christmas Eve.
But also, this is why you ask your kid for a Christmas list like a month in advance.
But apparently they did, and his wife told him a month in advance what to get him, and he just forgot.
You got it, right? Yeah.
Of course I got the doll.
Okay, I got to go back to the office.
Yep. He's like, I left it at the office. I'm just going to go get it. And then he goes on this odyssey trying to find Turbo Man.
Yeah. And this is what's sad about this movie is that this guy clearly thinks that his kid's life is going to be ruined if he does not get this toy.
In a way it is when you're that young. That is all you focus on, the material stuff.
Well, yeah, because he does. So we're introduced to Myron, who is a postal worker played by Sinbad. And he does have a story where all he wanted was this toy and he never got it. And it really this is like the turning point in this guy's life, that my dad never got me this toy and I have just ruined humanity ever since.
You could do worse than be a mailman. Let me just say that. It's
okay. So again, we talk about Howard getting fired or getting arrested for all this. This guy is in uniform. He's got packages in his bag, and yet he's drinking at the bar. He's racing around in the mall shopping. I'm like, are you on duty? Like, and it's Christmas Eve. I'm assuming there's at least one Christmas package in that bag that someone is waiting for.
Yeah, he was delivering a bomb to someone. I'm sure they're still waiting on that.
But here's the thing. So so I do my notes in Word. Whenever I typed in the word Sinbad, it just autocorrects to so bad. And I'm all for it. I was just like, well, that's pretty spot on right there. For the most part, this character is at least a little more sympathetic than Howard. Like, you see that this guy is damaged. He clearly should not be working on Christmas Eve.
No, although it's negligible how more reprehensible he is than Howard, because they're kind of on equal playing field.
Like I said, there is not a single male in this movie that is redeemable. They are all Jake Lloyd's the only one who you even like. All right, even the mom, I can't give a pass to. If she knows her husband is this much of a doofus and he spends all of his time working, sometimes you got to take matters into your own hands. It's your son too. They
get to the toy store. And this is one of the funniest things in the movie, the running joke about how everybody hates Booster. It's like, yeah, we're at a Turbo Man, but we have plenty of this Booster figure. Like the one guy, I'm looking for a Turbo Man, and they just laugh in his face.
So I told you early, when I first I rented this DVD from the library. There is a theatrical cut and there's an extended cut. And I'm like, well, I watched the extended cut, but I'm like, there's like a 6-minute difference. And I'm like, what is the difference? So one of those is that montage where he's going from toy store to toy store, getting laughed at in his face. And I'm like, how many toy stores are in Minnesota? There's a lot of toy stores right there in Minneapolis. He doesn't go too far. So, but you're right. We're introduced to Myron, and he gives this great speech about the toy cartel and how they're holding everybody down, and they're forcing this consumerism because of their shortchanging people, forcing people that this is like pre-eBay, by the way, where people would backdoor. I mean, I collected Star Wars toys in the 90s, 99 on when Hasbro and Kenner released all those
Phantom Menace. I
drew a blank on that damn name. And collectors would do backdoor deals with the toy store, Toys R Us, or the guy at Walmart, and just buy the case, and then never made it to the shelves.
And this is even very early days for Amazon and places like that where you could buy this stuff easily online. So you had to go to a physical location.
Oh, every Friday I used to go. I'd hit every store it was great. I loved it. It was fun to chase, but not on Christmas Eve. When you need this, your kid's going to wake up tomorrow morning and be devastated.
Ted is moving right in on this. He sees that Howard is gone for the day. He comes over. He's helping the wife make the cookies. And when Howard calls, "Who told you could eat my cookies?"
He's putting a star in the Christmas tree. You're lucky he wasn't like lathering up your wife when she was showering.
Just short of doing that. Now, then we transition to the Mall of America. So there's a lottery going on. There's one more Turbo Man that the toy store in the mall has, but they're giving out Super Balls. I would hope that they have numbers on them.
You would think that they look like ping pong balls, but they bounce like Super Balls because this thing just catapulted halfway across the mall.
So the workers just throw the balls up in the air. Now the one that Howard and Sinbad are fighting over can't be the only one that went over the railing. Multiple had to go over the railing. So
this just also implies that there are numerous people who still do not have a Turbo Man for their kid.
Right.
So it's chaos. And
so then Arnold is chasing this one Super Ball, and this little girl grabs it.
Yeah. So again, he would have been arrested. He's chasing this little girl through the play pit. It's like, all right, dude, you need to go.
Then she swallows it.
So she's dead. And we don't even know if that was the winning ball or not, because it moves on from
even
there.
If he got it, it would have been like 1 in 100 that he would have gotten.
And what was great was the guy was like, even if you win, you're now paying double.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, here we go. This is where it goes. But is this before or after we see Yeardsley Smith? Lisa
really? I didn't catch that. Who was she?
She is a girl on the street that he grabs. And he buys the toy from her. Maybe that's part of the extended.
Maybe it's I don't remember that. So, maybe that's
Yeardsley Smith. So that's pretty early. She probably was on Herman's head at that time. But
she was already 6 seasons into The Simpsons. Yeah. So
But she's a lady on the street, and he thinks that she has purchased the Turbo Man, and she sells it to him. It's wrapped. It's Christmas wrapped. For however many $200-$300 or something, and then he opens it and immediately finds out it's Booster, so he throws it away.
Oh yeah, that wasn't definitely not in what I saw.
Okay, all right. So yes, this bad behavior just keeps escalating as he's desperately trying to get this toy.
And this is where they meet Jim Belushi as Santa in the Mall of America.
Yes, and Danny Woodburn, who is the little elf Tony. He was also on. We just mentioned Seinfeld before.
Yeah, Mickey.
He was Mickey on Seinfeld.
And this would have been right when he was on Seinfeld when this movie came out.
And this is another Santa's extorting him for another $300. So I don't know how much cash this guy has on him.
So Santa just immediately leaves his job at the Mall of America.
Yeah, come with me. I got a deal for you.
Yep.
And there's like a fencing operation of Santa Clauses in this warehouse. Vern Troyer is actually, Mini-Me himself is actually one of the Santas.
And also there's like a Krampus Santa who's like a huge guy that fights Arnold. He is actually the Big Show, the WWE wrestler.
Oh, get out of here.
Yep.
So this is also part of the extended sequence. In the extended version, there is more screen time for James Belushi.
Okay. So what is this? Like, did they explain? Is this warehouse like stolen toys? Is what's going on here?
Yeah, and you would think that this would be busted in a heartbeat.
Counterfeit toys,
well,
bootleg
it is
toys.
busted. I'm sorry, it is busted. And that's where he grabs the fake ID. And I'm like, all right, so impersonating an officer, that is a federal offense. That's another one. This guy's just racking them up.
And Robert Conrad knows he's doing all this throughout the movie.
Yeah. So then from here, the car
breaks down. Yeah.
And then he's got to push it to the diner. And this is, he runs into Myron again, who's drinking on the job.
He yells at his kid on the phone. And then the wife is like, had it with him. And she's, damn you, Howard.
And this is where, because there's a parade. Dad, we always go to the parade. You're taking me to the parade, right? It's like, nope, gonna ruin that as well, son. And this is where we get Myron's great speech about, I still hate my dad because I didn't get the Johnny 7 Oma Army gun or whatever. And apparently this is a real toy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But was
this an actual flashback of Sinbad's?
Well, I think so, among many others. So, but this is where Howard has this, holy crap, my son's going to turn out just like this loser. If I don't
this was also a great scene when he sees Jake Lloyd drinking the whiskey, like dressed as Sinbad.
That's my son. Just like in the first movie where Jack O'Malley turns back into his little kid. This is the reverse.
But what's great is after he drinks the whiskey, he goes, like.
I wonder if they gave him real whiskey. That would have been great. Oh, smooth. Oh, boy. Yeah.
So it's when they're in the diner, they hear the radio.
Yes. So this is interesting because I actually threw this out to my family yesterday, which is, so the radio call in is you can win a turbo doll if you can name all 8 reindeer. And so my question to you is this: Donner or Donder?
I have that written down too. In all, because I have, and I used to read it to my son when he was small, the night before Christmas. And when you get to naming the reindeer, it's Donder in the book.
Yes. Yeah, I had to Google this for my family because I'm like, I'm Donner or Donder? Oh, it's Donner. What are you talking about? I'm like, it's Donder.
So is it officially changed. Donder?
I think it's officially Donner now. Okay. I think what happened, Donder was the original, and then somewhere along the line, whether it was like some publication of the 12 Days of Christmas or the night before Christmas or a Christmas special, somewhere along the line, maybe it was Gene Autry's Rudolph. The name became Donner, not Donder. And
it is clunky,
Donder. Well, it sounds like something you just brush off your shoulder. But this is Martin Mull is playing the DJ, and they immediately accost this guy.
I wonder if that was his real ponytail.
Probably, but he's the DJ at the radio station. They accost him. They break into the radio station, thinking that he has a Turbo Man, and he laughs at them. So then Myron resorts to a bomb threat. I'm just going to blow you all up. I'm like, this guy clearly is going postal.
Pulls out he was lying. He was bluffing. But unbeknownst to him, he had a real bomb in his package.
Yeah, this is
in his bag.
Another federal offense. You can't run into. Well, you can't go into an airport and yell bomb. You sure as hell can't show up in a radio station.
But that wasn't Howard. That was on Myron.
That was Myron, yes.
But yet Howard does flee a crime scene at the end when the bomb blows up.
Yeah, and you're right because the cops move in and they're outside. This is like Heath Ledger outside the in the Dark Knight where he's trying to detonate the bombs and they're not going. These guys are just walking away and all of a sudden you just hear a boom and he's like, "Oh crap, it really was a bomb." And then you see cartoon Conrad all covered in Daffy Duck explosive makeup. He was unharmed. We get a Barnaby Jones reference in here somewhere, which that was dated when Barnaby Jones.
Yeah, that was dated in the mid-90s. So now defeated, Howard has to hitch a ride with a tow truck home. And that's when, he sees Ted putting up the star on his tree. And then he's like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to steal your Turbo Man.
Yep. So breaking and entering. That's a petty theft. Yep. Punches out the reindeer, by the way.
Yeah. He grabs the package and he's walking out the door. Then he's like, I can't steal from another kid. So he goes to bring it back inside, and that's when the reindeer chases him through the house. and he's busted. Ted finds out what he's doing, and now his wife hates him even more.
So can we just go back to the tow truck driver for 1 second? Because I said, is this Large Marge from Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Is it?
Pee-wee's Big... It's not, but you know who this woman is? Her big claim to fame is she is the wrong Sarah Connor who gets shot by the Terminator. So you know in the scene where he goes house to house,
Sarah
are you Sarah Connor?
Yes.
And she goes, yes. And then he shoots. That's her. So now he's in the tow truck with her. Yeah.
That's funny.
That's that lady's claim to fame. And I did not write down her name, and I apologize.
Yes.
Yes. So now we got everything's converging because they're going to the parade, which clearly you should just be taking a train.
Parades, as a kid, I was so bored by parades, but I would have loved this one just because of the amount of mascots and floats that they had.
Yeah.
Snowman caught in a snow globe. Maybe the Christmas witch imprisoned him.
Was he a mime snowman?
And so you get Rock'em Sock'em. You get Sonic the Hedgehog is here in the parade.
You got Snoopy's. There's a lot of IP going on here. Sesame Street. So you're right. I guess Minnesota does put on a big, huge winter gala parade, but this was filmed in California. It's a back street.
Sitting through the credits, Snoopy is the only mascot that gets a credit in the end credits. Really? Snoopy's the only one. Bert and Ernie, no. Rock'em Sock'em, no. Sonic, no. Snoopy, yes.
Crayons? That's weird.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Ted's basically... So they let these kids... There's a massive parade going on. All right, you kids, go ahead. We'll find you.
We'll catch up with you. Yeah.
That's child abandonment.
Yeah.
This whole... Everybody, just despicable.
Ted really tries to put the moves on the wife while they're in the van.
He's literally head in her lap.
And so she smacks him with the eggnog. But a little bit later, somebody says to him, "You smell like vomit." Does somebody throw up on him? Because I missed that.
Well, no, I just think maybe aged eggnog.
Oh, okay.
Would just take on a rotten.
So it
smell.
wasn't a extended cut scene.
There's not an extended scene. No,
okay.
No, you're not missing some elaborate setup that just didn't play out in the theatrics. But this is where all of a sudden he's in a warehouse and
because the cops are rightly chasing him at this point.
Yeah.
So he hides in a warehouse and he just happens upon the float that they're getting ready for the Turbo Man.
Guy who was supposed to be in the costume didn't show up.
Yeah, but so who was supposed to show up? Who was Arnold taking the place of? So
I think it was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That was his big moment, and he missed it, so he had to wait a couple more years.
So they think that Arnold is there to play Turbo Man. They dress him up.
Yeah. But not before we're actually introduced to Curtis Armstrong as Booster.
Booger playing Booster.
Yeah. Well, you know who was supposed to... So originally, this role was for Gilbert Gottfried. And he canceled, he backed out at the last minute. So they got Curtis Armstrong.
Oh, he would have been great.
But if you listen to this, Curtis Armstrong is doing a Gilbert Gottfried voice. They actually asked him to imitate the guy. And I'm just like...
How insulting is that?
That is insulting, but he did it.
Maybe that's what they said to Jesse Eisenberg on his first movie. Hey, can you do Michael Cera?
Wait a minute. There's two different guys.
Hey, I kind of like doing this. Maybe I'll stick to this.
Maybe I'll stick with it. Right. So he's on the parade. Cops are closing in, and he's supposed to give away a Turbo Man toy. And Booster's yelling at him, just pick a kid.
They stop right in front of Jamie. Right in front of Jamie.
Yep. Parade route. Right there.
And this is where you hear some kid yell out, "Booster sucks."
I think it was Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
So he's ready to give the kid the stupid toy.
But then the other fugitive that's still on the run, Sinbad, knocks out Dementor and puts on his costume. Yeah. And comes and grabs the toy, or actually chases Jake. We're talking about Howard and his growing list of felonies.
Right, the growing.
Sinbad puts a child in jeopardy at the end, chases him up the rigging of the Christmas tree lights on the top of the building, which of course falls over. So now Jake and Sinbad are hanging for
This
dear
is after
life.
he assaulted the poor Dementor, by the way, the actor. And meanwhile, everyone's like, "Oh, it's just part of the show. This is cool. Man, look at this go on." So this kid's dangling. His life is on the line, and the way that this fight plays out is exactly the way the opening sequence on the TV show plays out. It's literally mirroring. Like if you go back and watch that opening, you're like, "Oh, this is how the movie ends." So apparently a costume meant for a parade has a detachable flying hand that will
and a working jetpack.
And you got working jetpacks with laser beams and the whole bit. And so Howard's flying around in this thing, and he saves Jamie and the toy. Still got the toy.
And even though the lower part of his face and his unmistakable voice, they still don't know who he is.
I got you. Thanks, Turbo Man. Too bad my dad wasn't here.
Now I have to say something to you. Yeah.
Superman got away with it all this time. Superman was just here. Clark, did you see him? Oh, you put your glasses on.
And the police, they're just too incredulous to even arrest him. Like, whoa.
They're like, whoa, look at this guy. But what's funny, so we have a Star Wars reference, which is he tells him, "I am your father." And I'm like, that's some serious foreshadowing right there. But even more importantly, once Liz realizes it's him, she's like, "I want that turbo thing." Like, she's like, "Bring that suit home, baby."
Yeah. Jamie reveals, again, as you said, he's the only one that has the Christmas spirit. Once he hears Sinbad ranting as the police are dragging him away, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell my son? He gives him the Turbo Man to give to his son.
Your kid needs it more than I do.
Yeah. Your kid's going to have a dad in jail. Yeah.
Right. Clearly, you no longer have a job or a pension.
Not even in a box, by the way, this figure.
No, correct. The toy is the least of his problems. But you're right. Yeah. This kid's the only one who knows the true meaning of Christmas.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, what do I need it for? I have Turbo Man as my dad.
So as a dad who just went through all this, I would be pissed. Are you kidding me? Do you know what I went through to get this stupid thing? No, give it to him. Screw his kid. Yeah, nope. That's the way it plays out. And all of this happens in one day.
One day. Yep. They make it in time to the parade. It's less than one day. In the morning, it all happens.
So Christmas Eve, he's selling mattresses. Comes home, realizes he doesn't have the gift, has to go back out, runs around to numerous.
Well, it's the next morning.
Was it that the night?
Remember that because Rita Wilson is in that bullet bra nightgown.
How could I forget that? You wear the bullet bra, baby. I'll bring the Turbo Man mask. Gotcha.
This has a very early post-credit sequence, and I've never realized this until this viewing, that this movie has a post-credit sequence.
Yeah, I think this gets moved to right after, like, in the extended cut, this gets moved up. It's not in the credits.
Okay.
Yeah, because they clearly are setting up a sequel. You've got mere hours. So go ahead. The setup is...
He's finally putting the star up on his own tree in this post-credit sequence, has a loving embrace with his wife, who has now forgiven him for everything. And she says, I was just thinking, if you went through all that for just a Turbo Man doll, what did you get from me? And then... Yeah.
Yeah. Cut. Yeah. Yeah, apparently that was not in some screenings. But yeah, it's like, oh, that's it, man. We got next year's movie coming out.
Jingle, and they did make a sequel too. They did make a sequel, although it has nothing to do with
just another schleppy dad who dropped the ball and now has to go find a toy.
Apparently so. Yes.
Yeah. So I was talking about deadbeat dads before, and I was thinking about it. You know who's the worst deadbeat dad in any of these Christmas movies? Is Kevin's dad in Home Alone. That guy lost his kid twice back-to-back Christmases.
Well, so did the mom. It's not only his fault.
I'm talking deadbeat dad. So stay with the narrative here. So I have a question. Which is, have you ever wanted or asked for a toy that you never received?
Yes. The AT-AT from Empire Strikes Back.
Ooh, that's a big price point. So it
Yeah.
probably was back in the day. It was probably what, 30, $35. But
Something ridiculous now, right?
no, well, that's what, but yeah, right. You got to put it in context too, because the same thing with the Millennium Falcon, or the Death Star. Those were big ticket items.
Now, the Millennium Falcon I did get, and that is probably top 3 of my favorite Christmas presents ever.
Yeah. You mean the one I have now?
No, the one I had
okay,
was long.
okay,
that
good.
was a secondhand one that I acquired, the one
okay.
that you have now.
AT-AT. So to this day, you do not own an AT-AT.
No.
Did you have friends who had one?
I had one friend that had one, yes. So I was at least able to play with it. I did get my hands on it, but I didn't have one myself.
Imagine if you had like 2 or 3 friends and each had one and you could just reenact all that opening sequence of Empire. Wow. I will say, for the most part, I don't remember anything like being crazy. That like our Christmases were simple, whatever. We were, whatever we got, we were happy with.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But yeah, I'm sure that there was, my list grew. I will tell you, and I know that my friend Goose is listening right now, that every year for the longest time when we lived next door to each other, we would ask for a Super 8 video camera so that we could remake Star Wars using our action figures.
Okay.
And to this day, I don't think either one of us ever got it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I could just do it on my phone. Now I can just make an action figure movie on my phone, stop motion action figure.
Yeah,
movie.
you could. I'm sure there's a download where you could do a stop motion.
So, but for the longest time, we would every year Super 8 video camera.
Yeah,
I could have been the next Spielberg, but no, never happened. No. Yep. So there you go.
So this was released in November of 1996. As you said, it was premiered in the Mall of America.
Yes.
And then it came out in the rest of the country the following week at the end of November. Cost between 60 and 75 million. It made 129 million. But, with marketing, I don't know how much if you've got to triple your budget or whatever. So it doesn't seem to be that much more that it made than what it cost. So it probably wasn't an out of the box hit. But again, this thing is watched year after year after year. Every single year.
These are movies. And the fact that they made a sequel, regardless of the fact that nobody involved in this, there was enough cachet with the name that they thought it was worthy of carrying on. That's interesting.
It's a very entertaining and funny in bits.
There's some dated. I mean, we pointed out all the hypocrisies that these 2 idiots should have been locked up long before the day ever commenced, with all their atrocities that they're putting on their fellow man.
Yeah, but it's just a stupid comedy.
Yeah,
you can pull anything apart like that.
It's amazing. Like when you think about it, like now it's like I can sit at home on my phone and just order a Turbo Man on Amazon, and it's up to some schlup who's working in a warehouse to pull it off a shelf and mail it to me. And then it's up to the UPS guy to bring it to my house the very next day.
Right. So there is something missing about that hunter-gatherer kind of feeling that you would get going to get something.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I know my kids, they love Pokemon even to this day, but there's really like nothing. Like there's some video games out there. I'm not going GameStop to GameStop chasing after this stuff. It's been years. I mean, my
now
kids
want like more high-ticket thing, like computers or phones.
The older your kids get, the more expensive it gets, and the smaller it gets. Yeah. So, I used to have a lot of fun buying silly stuff for them. I still do, but it's nothing like, it's not a tickle me Elmo. It's not like, well, my friend has one, so I want one kind of a thing. At this point, my kids kind of dance to the beat of their own drum, but
lots of Brian Setzer in this movie.
What's funny is 2 of the major changes in the extended versus the theatrical are score changes.
Really?
Yeah. So in a couple action sequences, they flipped the music. So it's like why it didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, that's I mean, outside a little ads here and there and clips and extended some scenes. I guess the two big chase sequences, they switched around the music score.
Interesting. They originally wanted Joe Pesci to play Sinbad's part. I could see that.
Yeah,
Especially coming off Home Alone.
Whoa,
He would market Christmas. He corners the market then if he were to be in this.
Home Alone was 92.
Home Alone was 90, and then the sequel was 92.
92. It's a little too on the nose.
And if he was wearing the flappy hat, he'd look just like he did in Home Alone.
There you go. That is true. Yeah, he probably, little wet bandits.
Yep.
So, interesting thing, in March 2001, a Michigan jury ruled that 20th Century Fox stole this script from a Detroit high school biology teacher by the name of Brian Webster and ordered the studio to pay him $19 million. Apparently, Webster submitted a script called Could This Be Christmas to the studio in 1994 and never received payment nor credit despite the film making $129 million worldwide.
And so apparently he never heard anything back when he sent the script to...
No, they just, that's good. All right, we'll keep it. This is why you don't submit shit like this.
But they overturned it, right? They
later reduced it to $1.5 million.
But then they overturned that as well because they figured that there was no way that they could have read his script before... The actual script that they used went into production.
You hear about stuff like this all the time, though. People, there's a girl fighting with the blue sky in 20th century over the creation of the squirrel in Ice Age. That this was her character, Scrat, and that it was stolen. I see it in advertising all the time. Back in the day when I was trying to get into ad agencies, I would have to leave my portfolio. So if I knew Ogilvy and Mathers, big ad agency, had an airline as one of their clientele, I would work up a fake ad for an airline, put it in my portfolio. Look, if they had the dog or cat food, put a dog or cat in your, and 9 out of 10 times you'd never see anybody, never meet anybody. You'd leave your portfolio with the front desk and then 3 days later come pick it up. You never know if anybody opened it. But I've heard stories of, I had this idea for Q-tip, and then all of a sudden this agency ran it 6 months after I left my portfolio.
Right.
So it's this stuff is out there. If you're mailing stuff to the studio going, here's an idea for a movie, perhaps you should get an agent. Tiger Electronics did release a 13.5-inch action figure in 1996, and it is a super rare collectible item.
It got to the point where some critics actually criticized the movie as trying to sell a toy, but...
That's every Hasbro cartoon from the 80s, from Transformers to He-Man, G.I. Joe. They're all toys. All they were was advertisements for the toy.
Although it's kind of unfair in this case, just because there was such a limited run and it was just really a novelty item. So I doubt that they thought that Turbo Man would become something
correct
from this movie.
Yeah, they're probably like, we'll throw the license out there. That's where Lucas made all his money. Yeah. He had to give away so many rights to that Star Wars just to get it released that he was like, I'll take $100 and I'll keep the toy rights.
Where's the booster action figure? That's
actually
wondering.
The one I want now.
Yeah,
I want the booster. All the ones that they threw away, those are the ones that are probably highly sought after.
This movie was Maslined by Janet Maslin from the New York Times.
Let me guess, she was not amused.
No, some people like Janet Maslin should not go anywhere near a movie like Jingle All the Way. There's just no way that she's going to like it.
Well, just like Red One. It's not for you.
She felt, there's a laundry list of what she felt. She felt the film lacked any real plot, failed at satire, should have included Sinbad's mentioned son in the movie. I don't know if he was in the extended cut.
Nope.
And it mostly wasted Phil Hartman.
I agree with two of those. The plot is the plot. The plot is I need to get a toy. how much deeper do you need to get? I mean, this could have been a video game. Yeah, I think that Myron would have been a little more sympathetic if you saw his son or his family life or something, because you saw nothing. For all you know, he was going to resell it on eBay. Anyways, Janet Maslin.
Myron's probably still in prison for what he did that morning.
And he was throwing those letters around willy-nilly, man.
Yeah.
My letter to my grandma never made it that year.
Jingle all the way. I'm going to give this 3 3/4 buckets.
Wow. Okay.
I liked it. I liked watching it. It was enjoyable.
So more than Red One.
More than Red One. Yes.
I actually dumped it down a quarter from my Red One.
Arnold holds a lot of cachet for me. I'll tell you
that's
that.
Fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, he's doing his best out there. He is, you know, he's trying to be the everyman. But again, it's just, there's no redeeming characters whatsoever in this movie. The consumerism aspect of it is just crazy, but it's a product of its time. That was what people were doing. They were doing unscrupulous things to get toys for their kids. Some people probably still are.
Yeah.
I don't think Black Friday sales are quite what they used to be. I'm going to give it 2 3/4 buckets. 2
3/4.
So, little above middle of the road. If it's on again, I probably would watch it. I have not seen this in a very long time. Yeah, unfortunately, I did enjoy myself a little bit more with the Red One.
Jake Lloyd is pretty good in this movie. So
yeah, I really wish. Unfortunately, after Phantom Menace, the backlash for this poor kid, and you know, and of course, again, we were right on the cusp of the internet where people can, speaking of being unscrupulous,
yeah,
you know, ruin his kid's life by telling him he's a piece of crap and he doesn't know how to act. But so here clearly he knew what he was doing. He is the driving heart of this movie, and that's
how we got the role, I'm sure, in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, probably, I'm sure.
Jingle all the way. So, do you want to talk a little microcosm of other Christmas things for what else did we do this week? Yeah,
I actually have 2 Christmas related movies I want to bring to the table, but I'll let you go first because I feel like I've been talking a lot.
I don't know how they got the rights. But one of the things I did in the past couple of weeks is sign up for yet another streaming service, one more than I already have. Okay. And this time it is the RiffTrax streaming service. Get out of here. So for $5.99 a month, I have access to all the content. You can see a few for free if you look at Prime and other things that they give to Prime. There's much more content on their streaming service that you only have access to if you actually pay a monthly subscription fee, and there's more stuff loaded constantly. So somehow they got the rights to skewer the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Really?
So they riff on the Star Wars Holiday Special.
That is worth the price of admission right there.
Yes. So, and they actually do the bootleg version where the commercials are intact. So they skewer the commercials as well as the Holiday Special.
Tobor is the only one I really remember.
Yeah, Tobor.
Even
there's
as a kid,
one.
I was like, it's a robot backwards.
There's one where you get almost like a color forms board. You draw a line up with a marker, and the vehicle that comes with the board follows the marker.
I do remember that.
There's a commercial for that. There's a number of like station ad breaks and stuff. So it's really funny.
Did it come out of the Toledo, Ohio area?
I think it may have. Yeah, because I think that's the one that I have, the bootleg that I have.
Version, the highest resolution version that's out there somewhere on YouTube.
Of course, they make fun of Mark Hamill having all the makeup on, and yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to have a song, and he said, "I'm not singing." Good for him, but stand his ground. Harrison Ford does not look happy. You speak about grumpy. That might have been what sent him over the edge. You know, and I kind of dug this character, but you can make me show up in this thing.
And the way that they go after Lumpy, who is the grandpa, especially when he gets on his pornography hologram thing.
Listen, clearly he has an addiction.
So yeah, I watched through
Okay.
the holiday special in its entirety again this year.
Yes, I have not watched it yet. Usually I watch it around Life Day, which is November 17th, but I have not gotten there yet.
Mm.
Yes, that is a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So I have two Christmas movies that I'm going to mention. One of them's on Netflix, and this came out a couple years ago and was actually up for Best Animated Feature. Klaus.
Okay.
Which is a beautifully rendered. Speaking of J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus, here he is. He was in this first. And the basic story is a spoiled, good for nothing kid who is privileged, can't hold a job, thinks he's going to live off his daddy's wealth. And dad says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to send you to the farthest regions of Siberia, basically, and put you in charge of this post office. And you can't come home until you generate 600 letters or whatever it is. And he gets to this desolate place in the middle of the north, only to find out there's a Hatfield and McCoy style family feud going on in the whole town. But it's a very interesting and unique take on the Santa Claus legend and how certain aspects of bringing gifts and the elves and delivering, writing letters to, it's fun. I really liked it, and the animation style is fantastic. Very moody, very different. So that's on Netflix. And then on Apple Plus, I have now watched this movie twice. It is called Spirited, and has Ryan Reynolds and what's his name?
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Thank you. It's almost like you saw it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Just like Red One, we find out at the very beginning of the movie that Will Ferrell is part of a team. He is Ghost of Christmas Present. And there's a team that gets together, and every year they pick a schlub who needs to be redeemed. And they pull the whole Christmas Carol on them. The three ghosts visit this person and try to get them to see the error of their ways and redeem themselves. And every year they pick a different person, and Will Ferrell becomes obsessed with Ryan Reynolds' character and that he wants to redeem this guy. But it is a musical, and they are very aware that they are in a musical. So people will just break out into song and yell for a spotlight, or people start dancing, and other people are like, well, how do you know all the dance moves? So it's very tongue in cheek. And I know these two guys are very unlikable. There's some people who absolutely despise these actors. They work very well together, and Ryan Reynolds is a real piece of crap, but it is a very fun movie. And I've now watched it twice, and I'm like, I'm kind of digging this. I'm like, this may replace Scrooged as my go-to anti-Christmas movie.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
then.
and it's on Apple Plus. I know not everybody has it, but it's something different, and it's fun. And there's a couple nice little twists.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Cool.
So Klaus and Spirited.
All right. So when we come back to do a new episode, it'll be next year.
This is it. This is our swan song for December. That's crazy.
Yeah.
2025 is right around the corner.
And we're kicking in 2025 with Sonic 3.
That's turbos.
Yeah, we haven't done either of the Sonic movies yet.
No, we did Detective Pikachu, and I just saw a trailer for Sonic 3 in which somebody makes a joke about Detective Pikachu.
Okay.
So whether or not they exist in the same universe, it is interesting.
My son is a huge Sonic fan, as is yours.
Both my kids are into these. Both of my two cats are named after Sonic characters.
Is your son like past the going to the movies with dad?
I can't even get him to watch football with me anymore. Game will come on. He's like, all right, I'm going to Joey's, or I'm going to the bar. Okay. All right. I guess I'll text you if we win. No, I doubt highly that he would sit in the theater with me to watch this. He'll probably see it. So Skeleton Crew and Creature Commandos both dropped. I can't watch them yet, Dad. I need to watch them with my friends or my girlfriend. Yeah, so we're at that point. We're at that stage.
Okay.
Listen, I hung on to it as long as possible, but
right.
it's not cool to hang out.
I'm
with that
still there,
anymore.
so I'll
unless
be able
I'm buying the beer, or sandwiches or whatever it is, yeah, then I'm in. But I will be probably seeing this by myself.
Aw.
That's all right. Do I even need to watch Sonic 1 and 2? Am I going to understand this?
You've never seen either of those? I'm shocked.
No, I have not. No, I have no interest. I'll check it out. Are they on Max?
I'm pretty sure that you can see them like on something for
I'll look
free.
them up. I'll look them up and I'll watch over.
Of course, one of the highlights of all the movies is Jim Carrey. So,
yes, I did see he is back as Robotnik.
yes. So that's going to be our next episode. But until then, I hope that everybody has a very happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas or whatever it is that you celebrate out there.
I'll say it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, too. Yeah.
Happy holidays. Listen, enjoy the season. We'll catch up next time.
Yes, we will.
Always thank you for listening and being a part of our self-indulgent ramblings. Maybe we got anything coming up in 2025. We did just mention we do have a Marvel movie.
New World Order.
New World Order. Thunderbolts. What do you know about this Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? I don't even see a release date.
I'm hearing a lot of things about this Nosferatu as well.
I know. I can't believe we're not going to be able to cover that. Or maybe we will. Maybe it'll be streaming come January.
Yeah, maybe.
Eggers. Yeah, Robert Eggers.
Yeah.
We also are having, we will have James Gunn's Superman next year.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four and Superman are on a collision course. They're both dropping in July.
And I read that James Gunn is now considering adding the Robert Pattinson Batman to his DC universe.
I would not be opposed to that.
No,
I know. I know it's getting a little. It got some kickback when he first showed up, but I did enjoy that version, especially now with the Penguin.
Oh yeah, I think maybe that's why everybody's asking him about it at this point.
Don't even make it an Elseworld. Just bring it in. Stop.
Yeah.
How many people had to play this character?
Because you got to bring in a Batman, right? And why do another one to just confuse everyone?
I'm going to throw this out right here now because I'm sure that James Gunn is listening. Actually, somebody called me James Gunn yesterday because of my hair, and I said, "You do know I had this haircut first. Bring back Gal Gadot. Don't recast Wonder Woman. She deserves to continue playing that character, even after everything we said about Wonder Woman 84. Yeah, I still want her on board. So, and then we also at the very tail end will have part 2 of Wicked.
Yes, that is coming.
I will be watching that movie again. So there's stuff coming down the pike. So thanks for sticking with us as always.
Yes.
And enjoy your holidays, and we'll catch up with you in the new year.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.